You know, this guy is part of many, many trivia questions. Who was the defenseman traded for Butch Goring from the Islanders to the Kings? This guy. Who never played a game in the minor leagues despite more than a decade at the highest level of the NHL? This guy. Who went on to a respected head coaching career? This guy. Who had probably the nicest mustache of any player of the NHL in the 1980s? Is this guy. You probably guessed it already. The great and the sympathetic, the very, very jovial Dave Lewis. Now, David Rodney Lewis, born in the beautiful Saskatchewan community of Kindersley, July 3rd, 1953, was ended up being a stalwart for two of the biggest franchises of the 1970s and 80s, the Islanders and the LA Kings. Now, he first came into major prominence with the Saskatoon Blades of the WCHL. In 2 seasons with the Blades, he drew a lot of attention, especially his 73 campaign, where he put up 60 points in a regular season in playoffs. Now, he was eventually drafted by the new New York Islanders and also by the Alberta Oilers of the WHA. A lot of people thought he might choose to go to Edmonton, but he signed with the Islanders. Now, he played 16 seasons overall with the Islanders, the Kings, later on with the Devils and the Red Wings, notching 36 goals and 224 points in 1,008 games. He was so good as a defensive defenseman, ladies and gentlemen, never played a game in the minor leagues. 74 his rookie campaign, he put up 77 points in 66 games. And for the next half decade, leading up to the trade, again, he put up solid numbers, 20 to 25 points a year, 3 to 6 goals a year, solid in the playoffs, good plus minus. Now, him and Billy Harris were traded with Butch Goring. Controversial at the time because we didn't know what Butch Goring could bring back to the East Coast Islander squad because he played West Coast for years. Now, LA put up some solid numbers over 3 seasons, averaging between 65 and 70 games a year, 15 points. Now, eventually became part of the revised Devils program when the Devils were growing over 3 seasons, again put up solid numbers, and then eventually wrapped up his career with the Detroit Red Wings in 87 and 88. Now, the playoffs, he was quite solid again, 21 points in 91 games. And again, not scared to take a penalty. He wasn't fully aggressive, but he was a strong presence. Now, when he retired, he was eventually stayed with the team as an assistant coach with the Red Wings. He helped Detroit win 3 Stanley Cups in 97, 98, and 2002. Now, when Bowman retired in 2002, Lewis was named head coach of the Red Wings. In 2 seasons, he guided the Red Wings to 2 48-win campaigns, including a President's Trophy. But in the playoffs, however, he held a 6-10 record. Now, after a lockout ended, his contract was allowed to expire on June 30, 2005. He was then rehired by the Red Wings on August 9, 2005 as a scout. But on June 29, 2006, Lewis was named the 27th head coach of the Bruins. His one and only season with the Bruins was not successful, as they finished with a 35-41-6 record, missing the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row, and finishing his last place in the Northeast Division. Now, in June 2007, he was fired as head coach of the Bruins by GM Peter Chiarelli because of the team's highly inconsistent play throughout the season. Now, Lewis subsequently signed out as an AC for the Kings for the 2008 season, and on August 4th, 2008, it was announced he would not return for the 2009 campaign. But on November 5th, 2010, Lewis, whose maternal grandparents were from Ukraine, was hired as the head coach of the Ukrainian national team through his association with that team, but his association with that team was short-lived. Now, on June 7, 2011, he was hired as the AC of the Carolina Hurricanes. Lewis, however, was eventually fired, along with head coach Kirk Muller and AC John McLean, on May 5th, 2014. Now, in December 2014, he was hired for his second World Squad as head coach of the Belarusian national squad. The contract was for 1 year with a possible extension up to the 2018 Olympics. Lewis had been a head coach for Belarus at the 2015, 16, 17, and 18 Worlds, However, the team just fell short of qualifying for the 2018 Olympics. Lewis was fired just 3 games into the 2008 World Championships after Belarus lost all 3 games, which I think is the first time in World Championship history where a non-Belarusian or non-Russian was fired by a kind of a Russian state at the World Championships. So a nice guy, but like some of the decisions that were made against him, still head scratching. I respect the guy. He's a great mind for hockey, great coach. Now in Detroit, overall record outstanding actually, 96, 41, and 21, 6 and 10 in the playoffs. But unfortunately, lost to Anaheim and Calgary back-to-back years, and in Boston 35, 14, and 6. So overall record 131, 82, 21, and 12. 2 division titles. He was first in the Central back-to-back in 03 and 04. Unfortunately, no Stanley Cups. But Dave Lewis, what a career in hockey, ladies and gentlemen. When you put literally almost a half century into hockey, you got to be good, and Dave Lewis is that good. And again, some negativity with that firing, different firings. But the thing is, Dave Lewis has always landed on his feet. One of my media pals in Toronto told me once, he said, watch if Lewis don't get fired, he gets rehired within a year. That was the trend, because he's got a mind for hockey. Just because you're fired doesn't mean you can't do a job someplace else. And I know the Belarus squad and the Ukrainian squad really appreciated his, what he called his Scotty Bowman-esque take on hockey. So that's a legend of Dave Lewis. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And because I did 2 previous podcasts on Billy Ayers and Butch Goring, I wanted to get Dave in there because that's one of the most important trades of the 1980s. It didn't seem much at the time, but it changed hockey history forever. Because would Dave Lewis be as good a coach now were it not to give the opportunity in Detroit later on after moving to the Kings? So it all flows. Have a good night. Bye.